Hello everyone, welcome to the Art Workshop. Thanks for tuning in today on PikeTV. We have a very special episode prepared for you today. We really appreciate everyone who tunes in and checks out the episode. And those of you who participate at home and draw along at home, we especially appreciate you because that involvement really is what this episode and channel is all about. We're here for our area and community, and we want to share things with you we think we enjoy. And one topic we'd like to talk about today that is focused in our area, and especially this time of year, are sightings of black bears. Now, black bears are seen all over our region, and sometimes you don't necessarily see them if you keep on the highways and byways, but venture out just a little bit into all the wonderful and beautiful wildlife areas and scenic areas that we have around our region, and you might just encounter one. Black bear sightings are increasing. The numbers are getting larger in our area. Normally compared to grizzly bears, black bears are more docile. They're normally one to keep away from humans, except for if they find garbage or trash. Food is always something that will attract them in. So for this episode, I asked some of the viewers and some of our friends on Facebook to send in a few photos if they'd seen any local sightings of the black bear. And we have a few of those actually that have been sent in. And what we want to do is show you a couple of those photos for now. This is courtesy of Jennifer Dorton. This is a black bear that actually made its way up onto her back porch. And you talk about some very close-up shots. I mean, this is right outside her window. This bear was looking around for food. It was probably about a mid-age bear. Black bears normally, they get pretty big, but normally they won't come near your home unless they are hungry or looking for food or smell food. Now, this is about as close up as I'd probably want to get with one. These pictures, we really appreciate Jennifer sending these in to us. We have a couple more we'll share with you. Now, this is literally encountering one on your way home. We talk about if you don't venture too far off from the highways or the byways in our county and region. This is literally on the road. So we see Bobby Taylor sent this one in, a black bear crossing. That's a pretty big black bear too. You can see from the size of where it's standing in the road and how much space it actually takes up in the road. The second one, of course, is Laura Looney. This bear is actually skedaddling up a embankment. It was off the side of the road again. There's a cemetery that it's running towards, as you can see it. But both Bobby and Laurel caught these literally driving on the road and encountering the bear on their way home. So black bears are definitely, the numbers are increasing, and we want to encourage everyone who encounter a black bear to don't try to approach it, don't try to come up and make friends with it. We want you to stay away from them. They can be dangerous. But today for our art exercise, oh, and another thing too, if you know, black bears are the mascot of our local university, so that ties in well today too. But we're not drawing a cartoon version today of a black bear. We're actually going to try something a little different that I thought the viewers would like. So grab your paper, grab your pencil and eraser, and let's get started. So my materials today, what I'm using is going to be, of course, pencil. We're going to be using a couple more things that are typically found at any local art supply store. We're going to be using these washable gray pencils. So these are actually pencils that you can apply water to these, and it acts almost like watercolor. So you put a little shading and they'll actually dissolve. The graphite dissolves, and you can see that each pen is marked with a number. And these numbers indicate the level of hue, so they go from light to dark, and that's a variation with these. You can get a lot of nice variation of hue and a balance of that, so that's something that I enjoy with these a lot. So take your pencil. Of course, erasers are handy. Keep one of those nearby. We mess up a lot. We can't help it. No one's perfect, so don't get overwhelmed. So the sketch we're going to be working on today first is going to be something that I prepared earlier. It's a simple design. It's a sketch of a black bear walking. It's from the side or profile angle, which gives us the ability to use our circle method that helps so much in drawing. So start out by first drawing a circle. Now hopefully you can see that I'm using a blue pencil, and sometimes blue pencils don't pick up so well on the camera, but you can see now this is a first circle that we have here. This is for the hind part of the bear, so the back end of the bear. Now what we want to do is go forward just a little bit and add another circle. This one probably about half the size of the first one. Now you notice this looks nothing like a black bear yet, but when we apply a little bit of our connecting our lines to our circles, things start to magically come out and we see the shape transform. Now so far what we've done is we've drawn the back part of the bear and then the shoulder area. That's what we have here, the back part of the bear and the shoulder area. We need to go ahead now and apply the head of the bear. So what we'll do is we'll add another circle, this more like an oval, towards the end here. This one actually attaching against the bear here. So this circle connects. This is the head, the shoulders, and the rear. We had a lot of people ask, why use the circle method? What's the benefits from it? But when you apply shapes to basic objects and you really just sort of minimize them down to the very basic basic structure of whatever it is you're drawing, it helps a lot. So we have 3 circles now. We have for the back haunches, we have for the shoulder, and then we have for the head. The goal now is going to be to connect these. So you can see from our reference photo that I'm drawing from, this looks nothing yet like a bear, but hopefully by the end we'll get something that does. So you start up here at the top in the back circle. Now we're going to start to actually put a line coming down. Don't worry about adding fur and the look of the bear just yet. All we're wanting to do is just connect these lines down. So notice how I stay above the circle a little bit. I'm looking at my reference photo the whole time. This helps to guide me. So right here will be actually where the head will start. So look at the shape of what you're drawing. So there's a line that comes down, and then the nose actually comes out to a point, but not a sharp point. So it's about right here. So this is the nose of our bear. The mouth will come back in, of course the bottom jaw, and then we're going to add the bottom part of the head here. So this brings us into the body. You can start to see how this takes shape. I'll darken it in some so you can see. Now like I said, don't worry about adding hair yet. You're just wanting to get this general shape down. The first part of this is laying our foundation. Once we have our foundation down, we can add all those nice details that make the drawing actually pop out and stand out. So now I have the top portion of the bear drawn. I have the line extending down the back and up to the point where the nose is. I want to return back to the end of the bear, not continue with the feet, because see, I have more information up here than I do down here. So I return to the back end of the bear and I'm going to work on the back leg. The back leg extends down. Remember, you've got a plane here that's walking on to keep all your legs nice and even. You can make a little line to kind of indicate this is where the ground is. So now for the back leg, we pull it down. We're working off that back circle, and we're going to add the foot here, coming down and touching the ground. Remember, general shapes, you're not putting a lot of detail in yet. From here, we can work on the stomach of the bear. This line comes up and goes into the front shoulder blade of the bear. Working now from the top part, we're going to bring this line down to create the front leg. The front leg actually comes down and it's going to extend onto the ground just below the head here. Now with these different shapes that we've added onto our circles, we can start to see now that we've created a general shape of the black bear. The black bear also has some back paws, so we need to add those in. So going just above the rear leg, we're going to put the other leg, the leg from the back, extending here. Now this plane is different. Remember, we talk about this perspective and using modality with your lines. So what I mean by that is these front and back paws here are resting on a certain line. The back paws are a little behind that line. Now when you do that, it adds the effect that you can see behind the bear. We can see the back legs. If you were to draw the feet down on the same plane as the front feet, it would not give that effect so much. Okay, so this is something that artists, the little trick artists, use all the time, playing with perspective. So now we have the general shape of the black bear. What I like to do now is grab a darker pencil, or if you have a marker, it's good too. And what we'll do now is we'll go over these lines that we've created on top of the circles. Now this is where you can start to add your look of hair. Follow the line you created. You can start adding to it and taking away from it if you want. Here's the bear's ear coming down the head to the front of the head. Now this slopes to the nose here. There's the nose. Then we're coming back in, create the look of the bottom jaw. This pulls into the chest area there. Let's go back to the rear now and continue. You can add these little fluffs of hair. So what I'm doing is I'm putting multiple little dashes as I go. It gives the look that there's hair on the bear. coming down the line. All these lines that you've already drawn, they're there for you just to trace over. Penciling in something is the key, really. If you pencil something in good, the first time, accurate, place your lines where you want them. When you go back to start to trace over, everything's there for you. No artist sits down and just draws something, a finished piece of work, just out of their head. There's planning involved with it. Now, some artists do prefer to not use the circle method. They prefer to, they pick a point of a drawing or whatever they're referencing, and they'll draw out from that point. That's okay, you can do that. If you're able to do that, then that's awesome. But for me, I need to use this method. So what I have now is a general outline of a black bear. What I was thinking about doing with this specific piece today, though, and I brought some reference photos to go from, I'd like to do something like this, where we have a scenery, some sort of background in the bear, the silhouette of the bear. So adding mountains, adding different trees, a sky at the top, this adds this element of a silhouetted landscape, okay? Now to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to start at the bottom of the bear, and we're going to work with all the black portions. So starting at the bottom of the bear, I want you to draw a line. And this line goes down, and goes above, up here, and out to the point. Now what this line is going to be the tree line we're going to work from. And once you've drawn this tree line, you're going to be adding different types of smaller trees. And these smaller trees will extend down all across the line that you've created. And these little smaller trees are easy to do, but you need to watch with me and go with me as I do it. Starting at the back, you're going to put like a triangle without the bottom. Then you're going to reproduce that same shape over and over and over, getting wider as you go down. So see, now we have a fern tree. Starting over here, we're going to go down the same way, smaller triangles, and we're going to do this all across the drawing. Some will be taller than others, some triangles will be steeper than others. Add some variation to your lines. These are going to be points that extend all across the bottom of our black bear. So it looks like the tip of a mountain range, and we're looking out into the distance. All these small triangles will be added to the bottom. Remember, adding variation to your lines. Make big ones, small ones, all sorts of different shapes with these. Once we have this foundation down, we'll go back over the black bear, and we're actually going to darken in all the area below it. So you may ask yourself or be thinking to yourself the question, well, why do we put those blue lines in? Won't those affect things? Well, cartoonists and illustrators will often use black and white. So it's white, so it'd be either like these pencils I'm using or an ink, so that they get the effect of this very contrast black on white. When you go to scan this in a scanner, the blue lines, if you scan this in grayscale, which means not in color, all the blue lines will disappear. So all you'll be left with then are the black lines. So it's just a small trick that cartoonists and illustrators will use to get a certain effect. Now I'm putting a lot of these trees, and mine do not match exactly the ones that are on our reference, but yours shouldn't either. All artwork is different in its own way. So don't get disappointed if you're doing this from home and some of your lines aren't turning out the way you want. Everyone's artwork is different. So now we've added these trees extending all the way out to the nose of the bear. Now what I'm going to do now to save a little bit of time, I'm going to speed ink through the bottom part. So you at home would do this too. You would literally ink all of the bottom below the line of trees. So I'm going to do that right now. So we have now basically the bottom half of the bear silhouetted out. This is the portion that we want for our trees. Now what I did is I went in, and you need to do this too. Take your pencil, and you're going to make these jagged edges, these shapes coming down. Don't try to pay too much attention to this. This is more scenery from, let's say, the Rockies, but we want mountains that resemble our mountains here at home. So I'm going to do small slopes on these peaks so you can draw these in. These little shapes that look like small triangles, rolling hills, So just draw those in, put another series down going to the back of that, so you can see how I've went across in one line here, and then I've went back and added a couple more angles here. So you could go ahead and do that too, and that really helps you to get an idea of where you are and what you need to add to it. So now from here, what I'm going to do is actually work on getting those lines put in, and I've got a few tools at my disposal. I've got, of course, the washable pencils I mentioned earlier. I also have a white marker. Those are great. You got two versions. You can get either a liquid version or you get a charcoal dry medium version. There's also a gel pen, a white gel pen. I'm not real sure which one of these is going to take best on each area, but I'm going to mess with it and see what happens. So I know right off that the charcoal works best on charcoal, but if I use ink to bring in those mountains, then I'm going to have to use a gel pen. So now go in and draw with an ink pen. You're going to draw over top of those lines you made, those rolling hills. So you're going to add a few of those in there, going all the way across the drawing, just like that, to the tip, out to the bear's head. Okay, once you have those drawn, go back in and add a few more of these rolling mountains that appear in behind the bear. We're going to draw those coming just so slightly over top so you can see it looks like a mountain chain. Okay, once you have those, now you can add some detail in there. So I'm going to use my pen again. Now I'm going to be using lines that look like just straight parallel lines, like this right here going across the top. These are just, these aren't cross-hatching. Cross-hatching would be if I were to draw a separate line then going across the opposite direction. But these are just simple lines showing the contour of the hills and the mountains here going across the top, okay? And we're going to add those in. Yeah, I thought, you know, when I looked at this design of this bear, I thought it would be nice to incorporate scenery that looks a little similar to what we have here in eastern Kentucky. So we have these lines drawn going across the top. Now you can start to add different shapes in here for contour lines. So we got like draws and spurs going up the hill. So you can add a few more shapes in there like that with those. And you can just pull those down straight from where the angle starts to drop. You can add another line and then put some more lines in here. Now we'll start using our crosshatch method. We'll do a few cross-hatching lines going down that way and a few going this way. This adds a little bit of contour to our drawing. Now, the designer of whoever created the bear we're referencing had the entire top part black where the mountains are. I'm sorry, where the sky is. So we're going to do that too. We're going to color in all of the top part here a very dark black. We're going to actually start using our wash pencils. So like I said at the beginning, there's a lot of variation in color here. I'm going to pull one of the darker ones. This is a 6B pencil. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to color all the entire top portion where the sky is this charcoal color, this black color, okay? I'm going to do this because what I want to do at the end is I'm going to add stars. So we're going to actually pull stars in and paint those in with their white pencils. Now if you do not have a white gel marker at home, I know that's something typically folks don't keep around laying around. What you could do at this point is leave out portions where you're coloring. So you'd actually, like I'll show you, like if you're coloring this in, you can leave that white dot there, and you have to do a series of those really to get the stars. Or if you have a bottle of whiteout laying around at home, you can use whiteout for this too. Whiteout works great whenever you're working with ink or using black on white medium. So now I have that entire top portion colored in. Now I can go and grab this is an aqua brush. It's just a brush that has water inside of it, so you don't have to keep on dipping your brush into water. And I'm going to apply water to this top part. So you can see what's going to happen here. This is going to actually start to just bleed over on itself and mix really nicely. And that's really what I want. I want this to blend in really good. I want this to be a nice black to match the bottom charcoal. So we're going to get this nice and smoothed out here, get the medium all nice and even across the top part of the bear, because our last part involves us actually going in and adding stars. Now you can actually, with these types of pencils that I have, you can actually go in and add a few more tones of grays to the slopes of the mountains if you wanted. Doing that adds a nice effect as well. So now we have the top part pretty much completely covered. I'm going to go now and pull a lighter color pencil. This one's going to be probably at HB. And I'm going to take that now and actually do what I mentioned earlier and add a little bit of a contour shadow in these draws and spurs in the mountains. A draw and spur is just, it's a topographic term. If anyone out there likes topographic maps, a draw is just a pull of a mountain. So when a mountain comes together and goes upward, sometimes there's streams that come down from draws. So creeks and hollers sometimes are large draws or spurs. I hope I have that right. Now, as you can see, I've got a little bit of medium still left on my brush. I want to make sure I get that out before I actually go in here and start to mix this color, because this is lighter, should be lighter than the top. And I'm going to start putting a little bit of shadow in here on these rolling mountains. Now, I really like this design. This is a silhouetted design, so you can look at it and see that's a black bear, but at the same time, you've got this beautiful scenery inside of it. I hope it's beautiful anyway. So now I'm going to use my white gel pen, and I'm going to go back in now, and I'm going to start putting dots for stars. Now, like I said, if you have whiteout at home, you can do it with that too. Now, what you do with the whiteout is something interesting, and I'll try to do it here at the end. I'm going to add a variation of these little stars, and so I want, some are bigger than others, some are really small, there's some that are maybe in constellations and things, so I want a nice variation of these splatters of white, and that's what I'm trying to get right now. Adding these in here, you could push a little harder and get larger blurts of paint out. Now, if you have whiteout at home, let's say you went all through this entire process and now you want to put some whiteout on there. Here's how you do that. What you'll want to do is take your whiteout and hold your arm right above your drawing. Once you have your whiteout, you dip it in there into the actual thing, and you'll start to smack it against your arm. See how that splatters there? Now, I've splattered on my drawing a little bit, but you can see how that splatter comes off and goes onto the artwork. And that's just a small trick you can use if you don't have some of these tools at home. One thing that I did do is actually got a little bit there on my the bottom part, so we want that to dry, and then we'll color over that. But this is a basic landscape type drawing. You see the silhouette is actually something that pulls the viewer in. They see a bear, but then inside of the bear we have this entire world going on, except for my little smudge at the bottom. But those of you at home can follow along with this and do this. This is something that is absolutely doable from home, and something that if you have similar resources available, you know, you can create these silhouettes. There's silhouettes you can use of any animal you can think of. Fox, you could do something with, you know, you could do any type of thing. You can imagination is completely unbarred on what you could do with this type of a design. I've seen this done on a few different things. I've seen it done on bags, so stylish bags actually, and patterns too. If you create something, there's tons of resources now available online where you can actually take your design and have companies apply that to certain things like handbags or pillows or even blankets and things. So there's tons of things you can do. So I encourage those out there, if you like to create and draw and just do graphic design and illustration, think about creating a small business around that. In our area, we have tons of resources. There's the farmers market locally. There's tons of different events that you could table at. And creating a small business is really simple. All you'll need to do is go onto the Kentucky Department of Revenue and create a name, so you get a tax ID number. And then after you get that, you file your taxes quarterly on your sales and use tax, and then you have a small business. So you'll be a sole proprietor. So think about this. This is stuff that I'd love to see artists in our region doing. It's my opinion that we don't have enough artists doing this. If you think about the publishing industry even, there's no voices from our area that are participating now on a big scale within publishing. I'd like to see that change too. And I know there's tons of talent. Listen, I'm just one of thousands of artists in our region. I'm so lucky to be able to draw and talk to you here on PikeTV, and we're so lucky to have a resource like PikeTV available to us. So we want to just thank PikeTV and for hosting the show. I'd like to thank you for viewing the show and watching the show. If you have created something you've drawn along with me and want to share that with me, you can go to my Facebook page and you can go on and just email me at eplingillustrations@gmail. And I'll post it here just as I did earlier with the pictures of the black bear sightings. So we thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you had a good time drawing this silhouette of a black bear.
And just from my own personal advice, keep this about as close as you'll get to a black bear. If you see one out in the wild, they're beautiful to see, but I wouldn't approach it if I were you. So thanks so much for tuning in. Until next time, I'm Christopher Epling, and keep drawing.